I think his run this year is probably comparable to what we seen maybe from like a '08 Wayne, an '03 50, a 2018 Drake.
And like this arriving during, you know, GNX week, it's like, it's a little bit pathetic.
Oh, I already know I love this. I just haven't had access to it. And you mean to tell, like, it's right here, like, you know, on the app that I already use. Like, let's go, let's download it, let's play it.
Before the break, Compton superstar Kendrick Lamar did a surprise drop. I wasn't here to talk about it with you guys. GNX, his 6th studio album, 12 tracks, featuring SZA, a slew of up-and-coming LA rappers. Project came #1 on the 319 album equivalent units, 7 records in the top 10 of the Hot 100. He is occupying the top 5, #1 with Squabble Up. Mr. Lamar is back in full force. Gentlemen, how did we feel about this album?
Fire. In a word.
Fire.
Fire.
Okay.
Also, just straightforward rap.
Hmm.
You know, it's just like, I know that PG, like Dave and Kendrick, love to be subversive. They love to just do what everyone is not expecting them to do. And I think this album is a good example of that. Every Kendrick album is like a grand affair. It has like this big, huge meaning that has to get worked through, that Kendrick himself works throughout the album. And sometimes he finds answers, sometimes he doesn't. But the journey is like watching him wrestle with this thing that he puts forth. This album is like just rapping. He's just like, here is a bunch of dope rap songs with some people from my home state. Enjoy.
Yeah, I agree, Kyle.
I've had a great time with the album. I feel like there were a lot of releases this year across genres where I appreciated how well put together the albums were, but I didn't really return to them very often. But I've pretty much only played GNX since it dropped. I think it's just like the Wicked soundtrack that has cut through my replays of this album.
I've been hearing that.
Kendrick, Wicked,
Like,
that's, you know,
it's just
hand in
Kendrick and
hand.
Wicked,
That's it.
man. Like, I'm really proud of the way he kind of let go of the big overarching concepts for this album and just went for him having fun and him trying to figure out how he enjoys kind of being a hypocrite and what pleasures and what, you know, no pleasures come out of that. I really loved Lefty Gunplay's verse on TV Off. That's the standout moment for me. Same thing with Young Thread. I just thought that was probably the most arresting feature I've heard all year just because his tone is so interesting to me. But yeah, great album, great project. Really great week for Kendrick.
Yeah. Trev.
Yeah, I mean, I think what everybody said is spot on. I think, in particular, the surprise element of this, like, you know, it's one of those things that we all felt like something was coming because, of course, the Super Bowl is coming up, you know, but I think people probably expected something closer to that moment, you know, a big January drop, a February drop. So to drop this, you know, completely out of the sky the way he did, just subverted, like, even though we knew something would be coming, he sort of went one step ahead of that and subverted everybody's expectations. Like, okay, here it is 3 months out. Nobody saw it coming. I think also one of the cool things that he does with this album is SZA obviously is the biggest, you know, guest star on 2 of the tracks. Roddy's out there, but a lot of the other guest stars, you know, aren't really known household names like that. So with this kind of, obviously he could have had this crazy budget he had. Jack Antonoff is producing. There's a lot of money, and, you know, you could have probably recruited anybody you wanted to be on a Kendrick Lamar album. So the fact that, you know, save SZA, who now we know is going on tour with him, so they're going to elevate that partnership to a new level. But the fact that he's given a lot of shine to some of these lesser known artists and really putting them on like that, giving them their first, you know, top 10 hits, their first major mainstream looks, I think that just dovetails right back into what happened with the Pop Out, giving like just the whole West Coast brand, you know, a sort of come up with him and not just taking the moment and taking it for himself and running himself all the way to the end zone. But the fact that the whole coast is on the back too, I think is a really important part of this.
Yeah, it's a great thing to point out. In case you guys didn't see, Kendrick and SZA announced their joint tour, which will be a stadium tour.
Yeah.
Kicking off in 2025, Stadium Lamarre.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Rogers Center.
Let's go.
Man, that's going to be
2 dates in that
fucking
life.
insane.
So he's
That's
performing
crazy.
at the Rogers Center. Has Drake performed at the Rogers Center?
He has to.
Has he?
Can we look
Has.
it up?
Can somebody fact check that? Yeah.
I don't think he has.
No,
I know he performed the video
Right.
there years ago, back when it was still called the Sky Dome.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I mean,
just seeing Rogers Arena.
Feels like, because I mean, has Drake mounted a stadium tour?
No.
Like, so I mean,
this
obviously he could do a one-off.
This is very ambitious for Kendrick.
Yeah, what I'm saying, but Drake could have done a one-off. Obviously, in his hometown, he would have sold that out. But yeah, jeez.
It's just crazy that Kendrick, after this, if this is true, he's gonna be the first one to perform at this stadium before the boy, as they call him.
We just had to find a way to just.
I'm just bringing up.
They putting a New Year's. They're putting together a New Year's concert or some shit real quick. They gonna make sure we out here first.
You know,
the Weeknd's headline, Rogers Center. Couldn't find anything.
We're not gonna do this to Drake right now, right? This Kendrick's moment.
Hey.
All right,
you asked, my nigga.
I'm just bringing it up. I'm just bringing it up.
No, I will say this about Kendrick. You know, him being able to land 3 number ones this year on the Hot 100.
Crazy.
Not like us, like that, squabble up. Him announcing this tour, him having a number 1 album, 319. I said this. I think I told Dame this. I think his run this year is probably comparable to what we've seen maybe from like a 08 Wayne, an 03 50, a 2018 Drake in terms of what he's been able to do. We're not gonna do that.
Get that.
We're not gonna do that.
Get that. I'm sorry.
2018 Drake, God's plan, nice for what? In my feelings.
You see how
got washed by Pusha,
but you don't,
and still pushed through.
But you don't even know what I was gonna say.
What were you gonna say?
2018 Drake is hard to compete with. I'm saying
culturally, I have not seen even Damn era Kendrick. I have not seen fans clamor for Kendrick the way they have his entire career. Like Damn Kendrick, and that was peak Kendrick. That was like what he did 700 week 1.
Yeah,
and we have not seen like culturally cats fuck with him to this degree, like this.
It feels like he's completely blanketed the culture, like
pop culture.
Like the one I referred to was like 98 DMX,
yeah,
where it just felt like everything that year was DMX. He was on every song, every hit you heard was his. He had 2 albums. You know, it was just a complete dominance of rap.
Yeah,
and I feel like Kendrick has achieved that in a way, because even like with Nice for What, when he had that run, which was insane because we all thought his career was going to take a hit and he just came back even stronger. It was like, yeah, this is dominating and this is like all over social media. But there's still other rappers out there.
Right.
Like 98 DMX was like, I don't know what else is happening. Like Jay-Z was out there and it was like, this guy is still the guy above him. Whereas like Future had an amazing year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Future had an amazing 2024. And still it's like, this is Kendrick's year.
Yeah.
This is everything he's done, you know, overshadows even Future's amazing run and Metro's amazing run. It's crazy.
I agree. I also want to give a quick shout out to Mustard, notching another heater. TV off. My God, what a fucking gem. It's pretty much to me like Not Like Us in reverse. The beat switch,
yeah,
phenomenal. It's like what you guys were saying. This is the most fun I've seen Kendrick had. You know, coming from an album like Mr. Morale, which the content, like I said, was a bit gloomy, kind of dense lyrically. He was still rhyming his ass off on this album, like with Reincarnated, whacked out murals, but it was digestible. And I have not like hit the replay button this much or the rewind button probably since Damn.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm curious to hear y'all thoughts, like favorite record or records off the album. I'll say TV Off and probably The Heart, Part 6 for me.
Mine's probably Man at the Garden.
Okay.
A lot of people were like, this album reminds them of God's Son, of Nas's God's Son.
And that was a flip on one mic, right?
Yeah, but one mic was on Stillmatic, but everyone was like, this, for some reason, everyone was like, this reminds me of God's Son, which it doesn't feel like that to me at all. God's Son was an album where Nas was like resigned of the beef. Album, he was like, yo, I'm done. My mom just passed. I'm just not trying to fuck with this anymore. Even though my favorite diss record out of that whole beef is on that album.
Last Real Nigga Alive.
Amazing song. But to me, this album feels like a Jay-Z album. It feels like the Blueprint. It's like very direct. It's very to the point. Here's Jay at the height of his powers being like, I run this shit. Fuck all of you. Just like Kendrick is like on the fucking opening track. He's like, yo, fuck all of you. First it was fuck this one guy. Now it's fuck all of you. And that's exactly what Jay-Z was. And Jay-Z was like, yo, anybody who wants it can get it. I'm the best nigga out. No one can fuck with me. My team's the best. I do what I want. Boom. Here's this fucking album that proves as much.
Yeah.
this album to me is just like that. It's not too long. It's fucking short and direct, and it's just like an amazing rap record.
Yeah.
So I say Man at the Garden. It's like a good. That's like probably the most like toned down part of the album. And I love the idea of like him just like being in his head and kind of like working shit out in real time.
Yeah. 45 minutes of heat. Real quick, gentlemen, favorite tracks.
Luther.
Yeah, shout out to SZA.
Yeah, I mean,
great flip too.
Well, I mean, excellent flip. Like, and yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, Kendrick and SZA, you know, are like, I wish we even got more of them. I know, obviously, they worked on probably, I mean, at least 5-6 tracks together by now. But every time they get together, it just feels like they really hit. Like, I'm glad we're not, you know, it's definitely a quality over quantity thing. I think the flip, of course, is great. I think, you know, coming off Squabble Up, because I was up there looking like Jonathan Majors in my apartment doing a little civil rights day. Because I did not expect Squabble. I didn't expect Kendrick to have such a that's y'all know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do.
It's like if you haven't seen it, I'm telling you, I was like, oh, like, you know, because one thing I had, you know, we missed, I think with Mr. Morale is like just a real clean Kendrick hit that wasn't. I mean, obviously, there's always, you know, Not Like Us was, of course, a major hit, but there was so much attached to that it just felt like you can put on Squabble Up and just, like, let it rock and not really sit there and have to call out your favorite lines or shoot or shout or whatever. So right after that, then to slow it down with Luther in that way, like, I was like, ooh, this is just beautiful. Like, I think just one of those favorite tracks. And anytime you can hear, like, sort of R&B mode Kendrick, I mean, I always like those little points that he makes to put on some of his albums. So anytime he gets in that bag, I'm for it.
Kyle?
Man at the Garden is also my favorite track. I just think it's a masterclass in vocal performance. I love how in one verse it can kind of sound like he's manifesting that he wants it all, but in the next verse there's like bitterness and contempt in the way that he's talking about it, as if he's asking someone else if they deserve it all. I love just how he's wrestling with those questions, and it's interesting seeing him do that on the other side of the beef. Like, you won, but you're still conflicted. That's wildly more interesting to me than just a regular victory lap. And I think Man at the Garden kind of encapsulates all of that. So.
Agree. Well said. Guys, make sure you comment below your favorite track off GNX. And shout out to Kendrick Lamar, Team PG Lang, for another big win, another #1. Switching gears, we're going to talk about Drake, who recently filed 2 legal actions against UMG, claiming that they allegedly spiked the streams for Kendrick's Not Like Us during the feud. There has been talks that Drake has been trying to renegotiate his deal with UMG. In 2022, he signed a deal for reportedly $400 million. There's rumors that he is nearing the end of that deal, trying to get a larger deal for approximately $600 million. There have been theories that UMG worked with Kendrick to deflate Drake's status to bring the asking price lower. Drake has been getting flamed online by everybody except me about his decision to file not 1 but 2 legal actions against UMG. What was y'all immediate thoughts when seeing the boy come after UMG in this regard? Smart play.
Like culturally, I mean, obviously culturally, no. Like, well, I just mean, you know, like, I mean, you see the response. Like, look,
and can we please note? Can we please note that again, these legal actions are towards UMG, not Kendrick Lamar. I think that's been getting lost. In a lot of the things I've been seeing, everybody's saying, "Oh, he's a pussy. He's out here suing Kendrick Lamar."
Still
no,
is.
that's
I mean,
not
suing
the case.
Kendrick Lamar would just be
That. Yeah, that's the
be
ultimate L.
insane.
That's
Sure,
the ultimate L. So I just wanted to put that out there. But
first, let's imagine he sues Kendrick Lamar. Like, can you imagine like the mountains of evidence? Like, people are gonna have to like, can you imagine the shit that's gonna come out to try to, you know, substantiate? Did you know? Like, what did you know, and when did you know it? And what? So that would be wild. But even, okay, so from a cultural standpoint, obviously, look, that is not a good look. Obviously, everyone's flaming him online. He had to know this was going to happen. And, you know, in some ways, I know the beef is still obvious. It's some ways very present, but at this point, it's also kind of not. Like, Not Like Us is, you know, after a crazy summer, fall, is finally starting to come down a little bit. It might have had that, you know, blip back up at the Super Bowl, but now we're on to a new album. You know, I think people are kind of ready to turn the page with that. So just the timing of it to bring it back up. I know people are going to say, like, this was almost put to bed. You almost kind of got out of it, and now here it is front and center again by your own action, and and now you look like you took the L and you don't want to. And now, now we're going to run and sue to try to make it seem like, I won in some way. Now, the hope is, of course, maybe, I'm sure Drake and Drake's legal team believe they have, if they go forward with this, have a solid, provable case. And if that is the case, then that kind of flips the whole legacy of this thing in a way that I don't think anybody would have anticipated. That doesn't necessarily mean Kendrick takes the L, but if you're about to, possibly blow up a corporation and by revealing what kind of practices you think go on, and you're the biggest guy out there. Like, this is not, some, low-key artist who has been wronged. I mean, the fact that Drake has benefited, and has a great partnership with Universal and has brought in, billions of dollars, and if he's willing to risk to blow all of this up, then I'm going to have to believe that they really think that there is something, something really worth exposing, or, just really blowing up that entire relationship, possibly the whole system. So if they believe in that, I'm going to hope, that culturally take the L, if legally and, sort of morally you take the W. Okay, we'll see.
This is definitely a bigger picture play, Kyle.
Yeah, I guess my initial reaction was confusion. And now that, I've sat through the documents and I've read through stuff, obviously, like, if this does end up going to trial and we get a decision that actually impacts the very model of streaming, this would be an important case, and deservedly so. But for me, at this current moment, all of it's still colored by the timing of it all, and like this arriving during GNX week, it's like, it's a little bit pathetic. Not gonna hold you, just a tiny bit. It just feels a little bit, let me do what I can to muddy up this guy's release week in any way that I can. So that is the way I feel right now. Obviously, in a year or two, that could change. But I think the second filing was the more interesting one to me, in which he basically is like, UMG knew that there were lyrics in Not Like Us that were defamatory, and they could have stopped the release of it. And it's just insane to think that he's effectively calling for the censorship of all art because of this specific song. And even like the invocation of the RICO statute in these filings, it's like the timing of this happening right after Young Thug's trial wraps up is such a mindfuck to me. It's just like so many of the things that we were up in arms about over in the Thug case are like cast in a completely different light in the Drake case. And it's just really, really odd. But yeah, that second filing and the possible ramifications of that, I'm not looking forward to. So I hope that second filing kind of just stays where it is.
In regards to the second filing, I wrote an essay talking about whether Drake can recover from the filings. And to that point, despite me being a Drake stan, I did acknowledge that, he's a shit starter, and that he was also calling Kendrick a woman beater. Mm-hmm. So, kind of hypocritical.
Now, some people will say, I mean,
not you're gonna try to balance.
Not the scale of the assault, but I guess the main thing is like, not if you're pushing Not Like Us in a way that is making it big on radio, making it big on the DS, like you are really actively sort of helping spread this. Some people say with the Drake allegation, it was in a song for sure, but you kind of never heard about that song again. Like there was no huge campaign to make it the thing, make it the big centerpiece, make it a put it on the Grammy nominations, all these kind of things. So just the scale, I guess, of the support behind it, some would say like is a part of the situation. I'm just.
No, I feel you.
Just saying.
I feel you.
But wrong is wrong. I'm not trying to sit here and pretend like if you this and this. Nah, we're not even touching that.
Dame.
I think the first reaction was just kind of disbelief at the timing of it. I believe Drake has an incredibly talented, robust legal team that if he were to bring this to them and say, hey, I want to sue UMG, the most powerful record label in the world, they would tell him, you're fucking bugging. Unless there was a case that they believed they could actually win. And this is not a full-fledged lawsuit. This is them essentially telling UMG freeze and collect all of the like documents and evidence that they believe UMG has in its possession, because they believe that there's stuff there that will prove their theory right. But I was like, the timing of it is just off. You know, even if there's a world in which UMG helps an artist that it also has a financial stake in to perform better, that's not a crime. It's also hard to parse whose money is used where. You know, I'm pretty sure they're not like taking from Certified Lover Boy dollars and giving it straight to Kendrick to be like, here, go crazy. I just don't understand why you would do this after you lose probably the biggest battle of your life. To Trevor's point, I think culturally, it's just a move I just can't wrap my head around. Even if it's a case you would like to bring forth, even if it's something that you believe in your heart of hearts is true. I believe Drake likes rap. I believe he wants to be the best rapper. I believe he has wanted to be the best rapper. He could have long ago went and just made like international pop music, but he wanted to make rap music. He wanted to like be the best rapper in Atlanta and Houston and New York and LA. I don't get why someone who does that does this. You know, I don't get why someone who had those aspirations and who achieved it is now willing to throw that all away. There's no way you can make Drake unsuccessful, but what you can do is make it so people who are in hip hop don't ever look at him the same.
Right.
You know, now he's no longer on any top 5 lists because how can you be if that's the case? How can you be the best rapper alive if you don't play by the rules? That's a real thing. That's a real conversation that's being had right now by a lot of people. So it's a timing I think is like really suspect to me. I don't think he doesn't have a case. I just think it's really suspect of the timing. The legacy of it is really worrisome to me as well with the second filing. I think if he were to see this through and it's like, okay, yeah, what Kendrick said in rhyme is true. What does that mean in the future? What precedent does that set for rap in the future? Does that mean that now all raps have to come with a fucking disclaimer? Like every rapper has to be like, the words you're about to hear are fiction.
Any resemblance
Let's go.
is
Any resemblance to
it's
any
purely
real
coincidental.
people is pretty coincidental. Let's get it. And like then you rap. Like is that the world that we're about to that he wants us to see?
Okay,
And
shut
it's
up.
like-
That let's get it. That actually kind of
kinda
worked.
is.
It kind of did. Like I can kind of see
album
that.
intro. I like that.
Right. Dave, you might need to put a quick little patent or what copyright on that or some shit.
You know, but yeah, I think those are the things that made me raise an eyebrow and made me like really say like, what the hell's going on here? Why are you really doing this? Is it really just because you lost? You know,
I can only hope there's something bigger that
there has to be something bigger there. I don't doubt that there's something bigger
Yeah.
there. It's just why would you do this now?
because maybe the timing if it is contractual.
I also
or whatever,
wonder, like,
something.
if this is a situation where it's like, was it only Not Like Us getting boosted? Were the
course
other
not.
tracks getting boosted? And if
course
that's
not.
the case, why go after the biggest one that has verifiable cultural moments that you don't necessarily need numbers to quantify? Like, we see the reactions on video when the song gets played. I know the life that I lived the past year
Right.
and what I saw with my own eyes outside. So it's like, yeah, even if y'all are found guilty of boosting these numbers some way, somehow, I know in my heart of hearts, this is a legitimate hit still. So like, why still rally around this
Like
one?
it's the idea that like Universal paid all of those companies on X to make mustard memes. Like when that happened, is that the idea here? Is the idea that the financial backing that some songs get is immaterial to the success of his songs? Like Drake has been the most successful rapper by a fucking mile for a long time, and no one ever questioned when every song on a Drake album would chart, and it would just no one questioned. It was just like this is the fucking norm now. This is just how things are now. No one was like, that's weird. Why is it that every Drake song charts? Like, and if what we find here is that the paradigm of social is broken and has always been broken. Awesome. Let's fix it. Let's do something about that. But it's hard for me to believe that only one person was benefiting from this broken system and not the biggest artist, the person who they have the largest financial stake in, the person who they like pray does well, so their balances and their bonuses come through. Like, they don't help him, but they help the guy who drops every 4 years. I don't know.
It was genuinely like a non-factor in popular music for a minute, like before this year.
I mean, I just wonder if they maybe they just assume that, you know, as big as the record's been, spent 6 months at #1 on our hot rap songs chart. I guess they just, you know, obviously when it came out back in May, they knew it would be big, knew it would be part of the moment. But the fact that it's still, you know, out here in top rotation 6 months later is probably maybe something that they're like, okay, we knew this record was gonna be hot, but like, still, like, all through the summer, all through the fall, maybe that's where they're kind of like, okay, this is clearly outsized, you know. That's what maybe that's what they think. There's no way, like, no way this thing could be this.
I'm like, we're talking about 2 non-consecutive weeks of #1. Like, this is not even like that crazy. Like, it was #1 for 19 weeks.
Not like
this
us
year.
Was like the bar song, or it's just
like this shit was just like a standard like big hit. I feel like
because with Drake, they're gonna say, you know, the songs made it to pop radio. They crossed over. Like, you know, they're so omnipresent that, of course, it makes sense that, you know, that Drake's going to lock up the top spot, you know, for 10, 12, 15 weeks at a time, because these records, you know, you can see that they're everywhere, and everybody, you know, old folks, white folks, black folks, everybody knows them. But this kid, no, there's no, I can see that.
Bro, I heard that song everywhere. I heard it at car washes. I heard it in bodegas. I heard it out of random cars on the street. There are videos at bar mitzvahs. There are videos in like countries I didn't even know had U.S. radio and Spotify. They were playing this shit.
I'm with you. I'm just theorizing what could be coming from the other side. That's the Libra in me.
Y'all good?
Y'all good? Well, you were over here.
You got it all out?
Because you were over here.
I know we don't.
You about to get whiplash, like looking back and forth.
You know, time crunch. All I'm gonna say is, you know, we will see what unfolds.
I also just, regardless of what happens, what UMG and Drake's relationship is like. I mean, it feels like it can never be the same.
Oh
like,
yeah,
it's
a wrap.
What is that going to be like?
There were reports that for a while his relationship with Lucien soured.
Yeah.
So, you know, this obviously took it over the top.
Yeah.
My thing is, like, they won't let him go, right?
They can't let him go.
They can't let him go. So, like, how do you just like kneecap Drake for the rest of his career?
But why would you kneecap Drake? Why would you kneecap the best thing you got?
Why would you file something like this?
I'm just, it doesn't, like, I don't believe I don't think his legal team, which I know is excellent, would file something frivolous. There's something there.
Yeah.
What is there, we don't know. But the context of it is very weird.
I mean, only time will tell. You know, again, go to billboard.com so you can see more of the updates. Shout out to Bill Donahue, who's been just holding it down, getting all the updates,
reading all these
on the legal side.
Pre-Thanksgiving week too, you know, holiday time and all that. Put in the work.
I hope he got a nice turkey.
Yeah, shout out Bill.
I hope he got a nice turkey.
Just a whole turkey.
Something.
No other dishes.
Just the family said
a little stuffing. Let's try to be a little more positive. Brother Jermaine, Lamarre Cole has been on a run the last month.
Come on, let's bring up round out that big three. Let's round out that big three.
Shout out Jermaine Lamarre Cole, man.
That's right.
He dropped a podcast with Ebe, very nostalgic, called Inevitable. 7 episodes deep right now, but along with that, he's been gifting us some dope music, which includes 3 of his classic mixtapes: The Come Up, The Warm Up, Friday Night Lights, all on streaming. And he's also gifting us 8 new tracks to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of his acclaimed album, 2014, Forest Hills Drive. Has a concert at the Garden coming up December 16th. I don't know if y'all saw the queue.
It's all but sold out.
All but sold out. There's like the waiting list is up to 150,000. Yeah,
I gave up
because he's also for a select few.
One night only. That's
$1. So he's following his whole $1 in a Dream format that's made him famous for some time. But Jermaine has made himself. He re-entered the conversation with just nostalgia. How do we feel about all the classic material coming back to streaming? Talking about timing, was this the right time for Jermaine to just kind of bring all these projects back to life the way he has?
Hell yeah. I mean,
So this is like 100 gigs, but the right way.
yes.
Got it.
I didn't.
Got it.
You said it, not me.
You know, it was coming. It was coming.
Yeah, it's the podcast with the drops I think is genius. It gives people a story to follow. It gives people something to expect. It allows like appointment viewing, which is very popular and fun on Twitter or X. Like 100 gigs, you had to just like go in and hope you found something and see if everybody else found it, and like if they didn't find it, it's like, hey, I found this thing, and then people talk about it then. Where this is like, oh, all his fans are gathering together on X and like listening to it together and anticipating these drops. So I think it's great. I think it was a genius move. I was a little like worried when he announced it because I was like, we don't really need to be retreading. We need to be moving forward. We need to be plotting this course forward. There's a lot of life left in J. Cole's career. I wanted to see him push forward, but it turned out to be great. It turned out to be like a very good celebration of him for his core fans, the ones that did not abandon him in the heat of fire of battle. So I think it was great. Perfect timing.
And I think it's important to note too, right? He started recording Inevitable before
Years
the
ago.
beef.
Yeah, a couple years ago, yeah.
Because people might, he started, he recorded it, post Kendrick.
Trying to save his,
Started 2022. Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like on past episodes, I definitely was of the mind that he should just be moving forward and not doing anything like this. I'll take the L on that one. This was the right move and the right time for it. I've seen the conversation like change in real time, like in personal conversations, in just what I've seen online. Like people are remembering why they fell in love with J. Cole in the first place, what their favorite songs were, reliving those memories that they have with his earlier music and stuff like that. I think that this was the right choice for him, and I am slightly annoyed that it had to be through a nostalgia loop, just because I'm kind of tired of the general cultural nostalgia loop that we're in across art mediums, but that's not a J. Cole issue. That's a general culture issue. But outside of that, this is really good for him. I think the show at the Garden is going to be fantastic. That's one of the most beloved rap albums of the past 10-ish years, I would say. So that's definitely going to be a major moment. I hope that this does actually translate into people showing up for that new music when it does arrive and giving it, a proper shot outside of all this other underlying context. But yeah.
Trev?
Yeah, I think everyone kind of hit the main points. I do want to add that, versus it's like say 100 gigs kind of situation. Look, with 100 gigs, we were already just generally there are a lot of anti-Drake sentiment. So people were all like going through 100 gigs, also trying to find like the shittiest clips they could and be like, the whole thing about like recording the song, about Serena, and Serena's gonna, like these things that sort of
trying to
blew
find
up.
proof of the things Kendrick was saying.
Right. It was almost like a confirmation bias. So it sort of like just sucks that like when you just drop it like that and let everybody kind of have what they want, the things that are gonna rise to the top can often be just the shit that is really negative. So I think, that was probably maybe something people didn't expect with 100 gigs, and maybe they would have dropped it a different way had they realized that was going to take over the narrative. I think with Cole, I think especially what Damien said is right, that sort of walking people through it kind of is almost like if you do a deluxe album and you kind of like do the interviews or something that gives people a different framework about how this was created, what state of mind we were in, and all that kind of thing without making it too much of a lift to get there. So I think people have a different appreciation about it. And we are in a nostalgia loop. So the fact that, with Drake putting out new music, people were so quick to, like, it's good, but it ain't none, but people have been really waiting and wanting these Cole tapes, like, for a minute. And so the fact that, it's something that, like, I already know I love this shit. I just haven't had access to it. And you mean to and shit, it's right here, like, on the app that I already use, like, let's go, let's download it, let's play it. So, the fact that I think those two aspects of the old and the new really informed what the general perception of these things is. And I think it's also good that he puts these kind of things out. I mean, now we're at a time when websites start disappearing, things are much harder to find. Like, so the fact that, we've seen, like Nicki, Beam Me Up Scotty, a couple other things. People have started to sort of go through that back catalog, make sure it's accessible on these main platforms, I think is only, good for the culture, helps just spread in particular a lot of people's legacies, because so many cats came up through mixtapes. Like those are the first things that people heard that made them fall in love. There are people out there who think people's mixtapes are better than their albums. Like, so to hide those mixtapes away and kind of, you know, make it this sort of minefield, a needle in a haystack to find, I think only, like, nobody benefits from that. And now you can put it on, you know, they were out for free too. Now you can put it on Spotify. Now you can make some money, make some coin off it. Like, I think it only helps everybody from a cultural, financial, legacy kind of sense, period.
I want to give a shout out to Cole, mainly because to get the sample clearances.
I was wondering that.
Especially, you know, the Villmatic, which he sampled Kanye's Devil in a Blue Dress, knowing the riff him and Kanye had. To pull that off.
A lot of Kanye beats on there. Like Get By.
Yeah, Get By. Yeah,
There's a bunch of Kanye stuff on there. Like,
shit, Kanye like money too. Shit.
But the money thing's interesting because I'm like, I don't know how much money he can make off these. It's like,
I wonder how long ago these got cleared.
Yeah.
The samples have to get re-cleared. The beats have to get cleared. Yeah, I wonder if he's actually like taking a loss on these.
For the love of the game.
I was gonna say maybe just you know,
which is dope
to have the whole complete collection in one place.
Shout out to the game. Real quick before we go, favorite Cole tape?
Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights.
Oh, probably the warm up, just because that was the one where people close to him are like, "Oh, you could actually do this.
You're pretty good."
Yeah, like, "Oh, you,
son, you might have something."
You could actually like become a real thing.
Yeah.
Friday Night Lights is amazing, but
Right.
at that point, it was like, yeah, this nigga's already out here.
Yeah.
People knew, like, yeah.
The warm up was like, oh,
Yeah. That's fair.
you're not bullshitting.
I'm gonna go between the warm up and Friday Night Lights, one or the other. In the morning, still a gem.
Grown Simba is like,
Yes.
Different. Definitely curious to hear y'all thoughts as well. Favorite Cole mixtape? I can't wait for December 16th. It's gonna be a
I was just gonna say, I
a
want
Cole
like
project. I should say.
Is it all 2014? Like, is it 2014 focus?
I think it's gonna be
Are we gonna
2014
bust out
focused.
some of these tracks.
He's gonna
like,
go track by track, but I think he's
Yeah.
gonna throw in the hits as well.
Okay.
At some
And then
point.
perform the new songs also.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Need to make it
All right.
back in time.
I'm
That's
good
a
with-
good warm up if fall.
Yeah.
2025. You know, look, it's been a minute since we had a brand new J. Cole. So
Maybe a 7-minute drill.
well, yeah, I don't know if we gonna get
he might drop It's a Boy first.
Instead of the fall off.
Yeah, remember that like
Oh
shit
yeah,
that came out years ago. That was like, here's the
like the plan.
albums
fall
are
off
gonna
was
come
a
out.
goodbye joint.
Yeah, the Fall Off was the very last one.
Yeah.
Before that was an album called It's a Boy, which no one really knew what was up. But there was a rumor floating around that that's actually going to be the next one, and then we're going to get the Fall Off, which, considering everything, could work.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. You heard it first.
Not mad at more J. Cole music.
Shout out to Jermaine, man, changing the narrative.
You know what I mean?
I love that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Appreciate y'all kicking it with us for another episode of Billboard Unfiltered. We will see y'all soon. Peace.